Hello, my name is Ige, and this is Beyond the Genetics. Welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest with me here. I have one of my sisters. She's my immediate senior sister. We are quite close, and she's one of my major support systems. And I'm so happy to have her here today. Noe, welcome to Beyond Genetics. I'm so excited that you decided to do this, and I'm happy to dive into this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you and, as always, provide the support that you need. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's dive into it. So, you have two sisters that have sickle cell disease, and I just want to know. Obviously, we grew up in the same house, but we have different experiences growing up. Our growing up experience is quite different. So, what was it like for you to grow up around that whole situation?
I think that for me, it was more of like a stage kind of development where, I was at a phase where I was upset and angry. I was at a phase where I was like, why me? I went through the stage of, I wish I could help them. Right. So for me, it was just not one feeling all through. It was that progression going through. I remember growing up, it's like, well, you can't go out because you have to stay with your sister. And I went through that phase of, well, I didn't choose to do this. Why am I doing this? Right. And then I go from that stage to be where, my sister can go out because she's sick and, just not being able to help her was very traumatizing for me. So it was just a mixture of feelings for me. So there's no one word I can describe. It's just something that was handed over to me and I didn't have a say in there. So it was very interesting, I would say. Yeah.
When you say like something handed to you, honestly, 100% relate to that. Because me being one of those sisters that was, or one of those sisters with the disease, I often feel like, okay, I just came into this world, like literally came out of my mother's womb, and then I already have this like baggage. It's like going into an airplane and you have excess luggage that is not yours, that you don't know where it came
Exactly.
from. So that's how it was feeling for me. Like it had felt for me for quite a long time. And just, getting into it and just realizing that it just depends on how you look at things. So life hands you different things, but your take and your perspective to how you perceive these things and how you look at it often help you to sort of like adjust and feel better, maybe. I mean, it helped me. I think it helped me. I'm still in the
I,
progress of that.
I think that I definitely agree with you. I think that maybe at early stages, one thing that could have helped me was maybe more education about what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But just being a child and being in that situation where your sisters are always sick, there was no clear understanding of why they were always sick. And at that stage, it was like, well, you can't do this because your sister is sick. You can't do this because this is happening. Honestly, went through different phases. Like I told you, it's just a roller coaster of emotions. It's like, well, I went through the why you tell me I can't do this? Am I the one that's sick?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to what's my problem? Why do I have to suffer for someone else's sin? Just to use the word loosely. And then I went through the final phase where I'm like, what can I do? Can I take that from you? Can I help you go through this pain? And I will tell you something. I did go through a phase where I would lie to my friends that I was the one with the disease just so I could be able to feel how you would feel. Right. So it's definitely a roller coaster of emotion. And I'm glad that, I'm where I am today. And I'm glad that you're doing this because there's people out there probably in our similar situations that need this education. So it can just minimize that emotions or help them better navigate through what they are going through. Yeah.
Yeah, you just made me speechless for about because I never knew that you would say that to people just to sort of like get a feeling of how it
Yeah.
actually
I mean,
feels.
I would go and say, well, because I always wanted, like, I love you and you know that. So,
I
like,
love you
I got to
too.
that stage where it's like, I want to be sick and not you. Like, I want to have this crisis and not you. And I'm a carrier of this gene, but I don't get the crisis. And I said to myself, why can't I get it? And she doesn't get it. I remember seeing you at the hospitals with all these IVs here and there. And, that fear that every time that you call me or mommy calls me is because you are sick. And I went through that place of, oh, I can't let you out of my side because I don't know what's going to happen. You can't play in the rain. You can't play with your friends. You can't travel alone. I did feel your pain. And probably if I felt this way, how much more the person that wears the shoe. So I did go through that phase where I was lying that I was the one who was really sick. And I would just say, well, I have the sickle cell, I'm SS. And I did go through that phase. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure what my intent was, but I think that I just wanted to take that pain away from you. I just wanted to swap lives with you, just to do anything that would make you feel, for lack of better word, more normal. You get what I you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Not that you're not normal, but
yeah.
yeah. So that was it for me. Yeah.
I think one thing, just to go a bit off topic, is that one thing that sickle cell has sort of like shown me, and which I see as a gift, is just showing me how deep love can go. Because my experiences with, with you, with our parents, with just people around me, my whole support system, is just the extent to how much that they love. And when I hear different stories that, obviously, like this story, just hearing it for the first time, I'm just in a mood, and I'm just like, God, I'm so blessed to have these
You
people who love me
are.
this much. And I'll soon start getting teary. Okay, so obviously, like growing up like a young child, there was no much education, even for me as well. I really
Not at
didn't even
all.
know what was going on most of the time, and I had to learn most things by myself, and just what people say, oh, you're supposed to take folic acid, you're supposed to drink water, this and that. The whole basic of your disease was not exactly relayed to me. So for you now, when would you say the reality of everything that was happening hits you? When would you say that you became more aware?
I would say I've always been somewhat aware of what was going on. My sisters were always sick. I was somewhere aware because, it's all connected. Your sister is sick, you can't do this. As to when, it made an exact meaning in my head that, it was the choices that our parents made because of lack of education. Like the Bible says, lack of knowledge make my people perish.
Yeah.
When that hit me was, you remember mom is always saying, your love has to have eye. You can't, you can't just fall in love like that. I think that, that was a saying that just, I grew up with. And then, at the time, I'm like, okay, so what does this actually mean? So I'm not sure the exact moment that it hit me that, people made these choices and this is what happened. I can't tell you that, but I was always aware of what was going on. But when I put the dot together that, okay, so two people made this choice and this happened, now we're here and we have to live with it. I don't know when that I made that connection.
And how has your experience, like having that whole childhood experience, how has it changed your life now that you're more mature, you're an adult, and you're just doing your own thing? How has that experience changed your life?
It's definitely contributed to me, to the woman that I have become these days. I remember in high school, there was this guy in my class. He had like sickle cell as well, and he was very pale and he had yellow eyes. And I was just drawn to him. And all my friends were like, well, you have a crush on this guy. You have a crush on this guy. I'm like, no, I don't. First of all, my mom said my love has to have eyes. And like, secondly, I realized I was just drawn to him because I could feel what he was feeling. I understood his struggle in class. I understood that, oh, he's not here today because it's in the hostel. He has crisis. It's almost like I had that connection with him. Right? Like I knew what he was going through. And when people would make fun of him, it wasn't really funny to me. So I get really passionate about people that carry this disease. And most importantly, I think that my childhood has affected the way I connect to kids with illnesses. So I have this special connection. I would say is one of my weak buttons that if you want to get me emotional, just show me a kid that's suffering. Because in my head, kids come to this world without an option. They don't decide to come here. And now they come into a world that's already confused, right? They didn't have an option. They didn't have a say. They just land. And now they have to go through all this pain. That for me is traumatizing. I cannot wrap my head around that. And that has shaped my life. I always support organizations that are, the Royal McDonald House we have here in Windsor, Ontario. I'm a supporter of that. And I remember them calling me and say, what's your motivation? And I said, well, my sister was born with a sickle cell gene, and that's drawing me to support kids. So I just can't stand and do nothing when I see kids suffer. So like kids with cancer, kids with any type of terminal illnesses. That's why I don't really watch TV, because there's always this commercial. So one of my life dreams that I'm hoping that one day I can actually do is I do want to support St. Jude's. Yeah. I do want to be a partner in St. Jude's, but we're working towards it. We'll get there. Yeah. But that's something that, because of my childhood now, I'm being very sensitive, and I would drop anything if I see a kid that is sick. I don't care if the house is on fire, I would drop anything, because they're so precious and they just go through so much pain. And something that I've always wondered is, because we're so close in age, I don't know how your infancy was. Was it terrible? Were you always in the hospital? I don't know that. So I think that my brain is trying to connect these kids that I'm seeing to be, that's probably what my sister felt when she was an infant. Just because we're too close, I don't have that memory. So I think that's just a very sensitive part of me. And he shaped me to, the causes that I support right now and how I just view life.
Like, I can honestly 100% relate to that. And I feel as though it's one of the reasons why I decided to go into pediatrics and specifically pick hematology and oncology, which everyone has been telling me, why would you decide to do that to yourself? But I honestly cannot stand seeing sick children. I cannot stand seeing people with diseases and they're just suffering, because you did not choose these things. These are things that are just handed over to you. You did not have a say in it. You did not have a yes or no kind of thing. It wasn't a conversation. Mm-hmm. You just came in and then this is like, yes, take your bag and be going. So for me, that is one of the passion that drives me into the specialty that I have chosen in medicine. As depressing as that specialty can sound, I just feel as though if you are able to save that one child, that one person, then it sort of like makes the whole process easier. It makes it all
absolutely.
Yeah, so I connect anew with that. And my whole childhood, I can't even remember most of what happened in childhood. I don't know if I blocked it or it's just, you don't remember your childhood, you don't remember your childhood. I don't know. But most of the experiences that I had and I can remember, it's probably from when I was like 10 or 7. Kind of, or 5, because I remember my 5th birthday. But other, like things that I've heard is just from stories that mom will say and things like that, like being baptized in the hospital, like that whole, not having
I think I remember that.
Yeah, and I didn't have a 1-year birthday like that. I should probably celebrate a birthday now.
We should have a 1-year birthday party.
Yes, 1-year birthday celebration that is coming how many years after?
All right. Anything to celebrate, we'll do it.
I know we're always looking for any opportunity to just be together and celebrate is always fun. So, like, what would you say, like, your scariest experience, referring to sickle cell now, like, what was the one crisis, if you were to pick one crisis that I've had, or one crisis that, that I've had, or a senior that has had, which one would you pick that was the scariest for you? What's that memory?
I don't think there's one memory for me. For me, it's just the constant living in fear. That's it for me. The fear that I may wake up tomorrow and you may not be there, right? I may wake up tomorrow and you're in the hospital. I may wake up tomorrow and there's like all this IV stuff. There's not that one memory, because all the crises that I remember were terrible. It was almost like, I don't know. And it's all so terrible. Like, if I hear today that you just have a sore throat, my brain is like playing 50 videos in my head right now. It's like, oh my God, is she going to be okay? Is she going to be this? Is she going to be that? And I've come to understand that you're probably going to get normal sore throat. That's life. But just knowing that you have this condition, it's just so scary. Right? Like,
it makes everything.
Exactly. I remember one time we're trying to get you like a travel insurance or something. And I was very offended that some of them wouldn't cover you because of your pre-existing condition. I don't think that that's fair, but that's a separate conversation. Because in my head, she didn't choose to get that. It's not something that she got because of her actions. She just appeared into this world and boom, she had it. But, I digress. So I don't think that it's one crisis or one episode. And constantly seeing our mom worried, it's just an image in my head I cannot get away. I cannot remove. It's almost like we constantly live in fear. We constantly live that worried. And I think that affected you because you were somewhat limited in how far you could go, right? Okay, you can't go here because, and I'm glad that you are where you are today because we have this education that, okay, they can actually live a normal life. But I think that we gradually got there. So it would just be the constant living in fear. Like you sneeze and I'm just awake and like, are you okay? Are you okay? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think, we stayed together aside just our childhood, like stayed together after school in Canada.
Yeah.
And I can remember this particular crisis that I had. And I was just so, in as much as I was in pain and my heart rate was like through the roof and all of those things were happening. And I was just so like, oh my gosh, they're going to have to call my sister from work because I was home alone. You had gone to work. I was home alone. And crisis just came out of nowhere. And I had to call like the emergency number and I literally had to like struggle to the door. So when they come, they could open and enter and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they came in, they took me and then they put all their normal pads and just did the whole procedure. And they were like, oh, I gave them my sister's number. I'm like, that's my emergency contact. And in my head, I'm just like, oh my goodness, they're going to call my sister at work now. And then she's obviously going to freak out. And not because she left me, I was fine today. We probably had a conversation this morning. Mm-hmm. And I probably made you breakfast or food to take to work.
Oh, we all know I can't cook, so let's not go there.
So all of those things just happened and it was a normal day. It was so normal. And then having to now be like getting that phone call and be like, oh yes, are you anybody, your sister, this, that was rushed to the hospital. And in that moment, not even knowing what is going on, how bad it is. So it was a scary experience. And I imagine how it would feel for you. Because me at that time, like having to be connected to all these their machines, and obviously because they would like to test everything, they will do a CT scan, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then having to go through that process and all that was in my mind at that time was just like, my sister would be so worried.
I remember the incident that you're talking about. I was at work. As you know, I wasn't working in the city. So when I got that call, my heart stopped. Like the world stopped. It didn't matter if my machine was broken down or production numbers were, I didn't care. I just remember taking my bag, going to my boss and say, I gotta leave. Like I have to leave right now. And I've never left work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got into the car and I just like driving back to the city. I was just saying, Lord Jesus, help me, help me, help me. That's the first time I've ever gotten a call to be somewhere, and I feel like at that moment, it just brought back all my childhood fears. Is like I was leaving that. And I remember we spent a couple of days in the hospital. I would not leave your side. I didn't even care about work. I did not care about, I'm like, right now, she's just got to be better. And I remember my colleagues calling me, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, guys, I just need space right now. Like my brain isn't working. I didn't even know how the hospital was. I just entered there. I didn't even know where to park.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to park. And you said emergency and it's all crazy parking. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I just remember then the nurse is like, okay, she's fine. Calm down. I'm like, I want to see her. It was almost like the movies. You know, when you watch the movie and you're like, oh, this person is overreacting. No, they are not. That's how you really behave.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I do remember that. And just leaving that, I don't ever want to see you sick. I don't ever want to see anybody sick, but the ward stopped. I had to be there. That was traumatizing. Just something funny is that was like the longest. I've never been to the hospital, I think, prior to that. So every time I have to go to the hospital now, either to do a check or to see someone that just gave birth or something, it all comes back. It all comes back. If I'm driving by the hospital, because we only have, technically one hospital here in Windsor, if I'm driving past that hospital, it comes back. It's so real till today. So I'm glad that you made it, but it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's actually a lot. And another like thing that comes to mind, like just hearing you like narrative side of the whole experience was, do you remember when I was going to St. Kitts, Windsor? You know how it's funny that I was actually allowed to go that far to school?
I think that it's just because, and if you remember what I said earlier in our conversation, is we went from not being always trying to protect you and then finding out that, oh, she's actually great. And we're limiting her to what we think she should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think that we got to a point where, it was like, okay, so she has this disease. She didn't cause it. How can we still let her manifest what God has deposited in her life and manage this crisis? Because one thing that I feel that it could happen to people is if you have a child or a sibling that has this disease, is just cornering them and saying, you can't do this. You can't go to uni 5 miles away or 5,000 miles away because there's no one, right? So I think we went through, well, you had to go to this school, you had to go to that school. But at that your university stage, I think it took a lot of work, I think. But it was nice to see you go that far, right?
Yeah,
I
and I
know
think that helped me too as well.
I think it did. And I think that to anyone out there who's going to listen to this is you probably will go through that stage where if you are the person with the disease, your parents would keep you, want to protect you and everything. I think that just being an adult right now, that's very annoying to the child. You can't always protect them, right? So I'm glad that we got to that point where we could let you somewhat fly.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean, right? So I think that's important, right? We can't just let the condition determine how far you're going to go in life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I was supposed to say a story before, but now you said this thing, I just remember like when I was in school and I had a housemate. Yeah, I had a housemate at the time. And so my housemate wanted to move out and mom was so scared. So she had called her and
My
then
mom is scared about everything.
so she had called her and then she was like, did you guys have a fight? Did something happen? Was it boy trouble? This and that. You know how
Oh my God.
you're just trying to find out, okay, what's the root of somebody just deciding to leave. And she kept on like speaking to the girl and just talking to, maybe try and convince her to stay. I don't know. During that period, I was just so tired because I'm like, if someone wants to move out, let them move out for goodness sake. Like, we're not tied by we're not twins. We don't come to this world together. Like, we're not tied by the leg or whatever. But mommy, she will not hear now. She went on, went on, went on.
Yeah.
I think what even did it for her was that I think the girl was rude to her on the phone. And then she had spoken to one of her prayer partners and just narrated the whole story. And then the person told her and was like, you're not the one that has been protecting this girl all this while.
Exactly.
So if you're saying that you believe in God and God has been the one doing the protection, then what do you think that God is just going to stop if she starts living alone?
Exactly.
That was the moment she called me and then she was like, okay, you can go and move out and stay on your own. And I was finally allowed to stay on my own, which was exciting for me. It was an exciting experience.
So much joy in staying alone.
No, because I'm like, why are you begging someone to stay with your child?
Exactly. Like if they want to go, they can go, right? Like it's not that serious.
Mm-hmm. Like obviously it's going to get to an insulting level because somebody doesn't want to stay. Like why are you begging the person to stay? But it all turned out nicely because I went and lived in this really nice apartment that I liked. So yeah. So like what I even wanted to say was that remember when I was going to school and then we stopped in London because there was no straight flights. I think it was on the December 31st. It was 2010, I believe. So we're all just talking and gisting and whatnot. And I just had a crisis. Like it was so bad. I couldn't lie down. I couldn't sit down. And then the ambulance took like over how many hours?
I remember that. It was not like the movies at all. It took forever for that.
Oh my goodness. I was like, where's this ambulance? Like I feel like I'm dying and you guys are just taking your precious time.
I just kept on wondering. I'm like, where are they? Where are they? It's Like, how can they be that
definitely
far away?
precious time to come. And then when I went to the hospital, there was this thing that happened. So I was in a room before, and it was me and someone, I believe. So what happened was that I think mommy had left the hospital and then she went home to change or something. During the period she left, they had changed my room. And
Oh
then
my God.
so
No
so
way.
when she came back and she saw my bed empty,
Oh, geez. I'm
literally
traumatized
almost
right now.
collapsed.
I'm just hearing this stuff.
She was like, what? As because the
Yeah.
first thing that came to her mind was that, oh, I died, the
I
period.
would pass out if it was me. I don't know how she's doing. I would just pass out.
And then she, because we have an auntie working in that hospital, she saw her and then she just ran to mommy and she was like, no, 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 they changed her bed, they changed her bed, they changed her
You should
bed.
have told her. Come
Yeah,
on.
they should. But she had left. I don't know. I guess they should have called her. I don't know. I don't know if they call you and tell you that, oh, I changed bed. But I think maybe when she entered the ward, maybe there was nobody to tell her that, oh, the bed had changed or so. So she had that period where her body, or is it the soul leaving the body now? Was it? But it was like a detachment, and I can't even imagine what that felt like. Anyways, yes.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of ambulances, I think that just being in one with you, I realized how slow those things move. Like, I don't care if they run through the traffic lights, and they're really slow when you're in pain. They're really, really slow when it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So do you feel like it sort of like affected our sibling relationship? Did it change something? What difference do you think that it made to our sibling relationship?
I don't really think it changed anything because we're pretty close. I think it just makes me see a different part of life. If anything, I think that you probably affected my life more than I did, just because I understand that kids, like we talked about the kids. So, that has shaped me into things that I value right now in life. As to a personal sibling relationship, I think that we're pretty close. I don't know what it would be like. You get what I mean? There's nothing for me to compare it with because I'm pretty close to you and I'm pretty close to KK. And, we have this bond that I don't know what it would be like if we didn't have it.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me to compare that with because KK doesn't have it. You have it, but we're still super close. So for me, I would just say from a sibling standpoint, no, mama brought us up right. We're good. But just for me as a person, I think you have more impact in the way I see life and in what I should be doing, aside from working.
Well, I'm glad I impact your life positively. Yep. When you experience all of these things and all the things that you said and have told me, did it ever feel draining? Because now running my foundation, right, I have had the opportunity to speak with a lot of sickle cell patients, just different people. And I noticed that there are certain things that are quite common with sickle cell patients. And one of the things are like, oh, I feel like a burden. So you don't really have conversations with the people that you should actually be having conversations with. So from your own side, was it ever draining? Like, did you get tired?
I think I did. Probably be in the high school range is as a person, I got really tired of why I couldn't do things. Like, it's almost like we couldn't make plans because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Right. So I hated that part. And that's the hatred stage I was talking about. I hated that. I hated, you know me. I just hate it when people say you can't do this. Like, I just want to do it. So because I believe I can do all things through Christ. So you telling me I can't, it's just so offensive. So just being very cornered and put into a box, it was very hard for me. However, growing up and being more matured right now, I feel more empathy towards you because you were not allowed to travel until you went with mom.
Yeah.
So you traveled for the first time very late, whereas we traveled earlier. So as a matured person, when I think of that right now, I'm like, okay, step back a minute. You were just angry because you couldn't hang out with your friends, of which you don't have a lot. So I'm not sure why you were upset. I think it was more of somebody telling me I cannot do it than me not doing it. Because I have issues when people tell me I can't do something. So, that was it for me. It's just, I want to go somewhere. No, I'm like, mom would say, oh, I'm going out. You got to watch your sister. Why do I have to watch her? Like, why? Did I choose this? Like, why me?
Yeah.
Right? And then I went to the phase of, oh, I'm going to watch her. She's cool. Or I'm coming with her, to lying that I was the one that was sick and all those, emotional things. So absolutely no, I think I felt more empathy for you because it's almost like you did everything late that we did early.
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, everything was late for you.
Yeah.
Couldn't travel, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And I couldn't go swimming when we all did the swimming lessons with our cousins. You stand by the water. It's like, oh my God, now she can only swim for 2 minutes.
Like feel along.
Exactly. So I feel more empathy for you than for me. For me, I did it. Maybe not all the times that I wanted to, which made me upset, but I still got to do it. But you were somewhat delayed. So
yeah. I was actually delayed, and there were some things that I actually wanted to do that I couldn't do.
You can't play in the rain. You remember that? I'm like, why can a child not play in the rain? That's the fun of rain.
She would say, bag of salt, come into the house. Like
exactly. I'm like, I need to play in the rain. That's what it's for. Kids play in the rain. But yeah, you can't play in the rain. Remember, Grandma? If any drop of water touched you, you had to be rebaptized. So
they just carry me and wrap me.
Exactly. It's like you needed protection. You know, when you get an Amazon package, I don't even think you're wrapped more than an Amazon package. Like you're bubble wrapped. Like it's just, and it was upsetting for me. I went through the phase where I think, I wasn't loved. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why is everything have to center about vuvu? Everything is vuvu. You're asking for this. They're talking about vuvu. I'm like, can we just talk about me right now? But that's okay. So I'm sure those are the, extras of being a child. But right now I understand better because I have more information. I just feel really, really, sad that you had to go through that, not just the crisis, but the ripple effect of the crisis. Like you can't play in the rain. Oh my days. It's like someone say you can't build snowman. You couldn't even build snowman in New York.
Oh my goodness. We went to New York.
Exactly.
And it was snowing. I was so excited.
How can you not build snowman?
And then I went out to play in the snow and guess what?
And then you fell sick. So it was...
But it was worth it though. It was
worth it for sure. But like it was almost like, well, Mama said you're going to fall sick if you play with snow, but then you went to play with snow and you indeed fell sick. So it was like, Mama is right again. Oh my God. You can feel the passion in my voice right there. I'm like, I need to play with snow. Why are you telling me no?
Because that was the first time I had seen snow, and it was so exciting for a child of my age at that time. And then I was like, I'm going to gadget up, like Mom will call it, like gadgets. And then I had my cap, I had my glove, I had my scarf, my jacket, and I was like, trying to build a snowman and just like what we see on TV. And then the next thing was like, all fun and games. And then we'll go in and I'm like, my body's spinning me. And it's like, I told you so.
Yeah, it's like, I told you. I'm like, oh my gosh, she has to be a child, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was
definitely.
Yeah, it was very unique.
I was just saying that it was worth it at the end of the day.
It was, but then we had to listen to Mama just, I told you, I told you, she had done this. I'm like, oh my God, come on.
But even if like, I know there were some things that I couldn't do, but I feel like those things that I couldn't do, because I remember quite early on in my childhood, I did used to like to run. And I think that's one of the things I share with KK, is that I did used to like to run, but obviously I couldn't run because, that's just like this recipe for disaster. And
I feel like it's also the society we grew up in. We didn't have a lot of knowledge about the battles that we were fighting, right? Because I feel like you can't run if you want to.
Yeah, it would just take a lot of extra doctors, like everybody.
Yeah, which obviously we didn't have because our medical system is a separate conversation. But
it's a separate conversation. But as much as I couldn't do those things, it made me in tune with more things that I now enjoy doing, like writing and craft and things like that. So I didn't lose out completely. So,
or maybe you were never a runner. You just wanted to be like KK. I
know,
could be.
I really used to shout and I just wanted to do. Well, I think I did that with a lot of things that you guys did, just because I was the last, and I just always wanted to do what you guys were doing and just be like my sisters.
I think maybe you felt, from my point, I see, like maybe you felt left out. That because we still had to play. So maybe in your head, you probably felt left out, and then you probably felt maybe this is something. Maybe you were looking for like a connection with us.
I did 100% feel left out. I did, especially that swimming thing. It used to annoy me because we used to go every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just be there. I didn't want to go because I'm like, why am I even going here when I can't even swim? And then mommy and auntie Essie would be like, oh, just put your leg in water.
Oh my
I'm
God,
like,
that's so annoying.
everybody is swimming, not putting their leg in the water. I want to swim. And obviously I couldn't swim. But it was not, I think it was not until Coach Moses came and said, oh,
Coach Moses.
gradually
Ooh.
that I actually now started swimming. And then even at that, you guys would be in the water for like an hour more. And
No, you were allowed like 30 minutes max.
yeah, I was allowed just 30 minutes max. And then what I used to do was that I would divide my 30 minutes. So I would go in when everybody's going in. And then when everybody wants to come out, like a few minutes before everybody wants to come out, I'll now go in and then it will come out.
And they probably asked you like 25 questions after you came. Are you okay? Do you feel any pain? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, drink some water. Are you cold? Clean your body, take a shower, this and that.
On the bright side, though, I think the good thing is you were somewhat of the golden child. You always went out with mom. You almost had your FBI kind of convoy going on thing with you.
I don't think I necessarily liked it just because I didn't know.
Probably not. I don't think you liked it at that time. Yeah. But from my point of view, you got a lot of attention.
Yeah, I did. And it seeps into how I grew up because in uni then I used to do certain things that people won't do because I put my comfort first just because that's how I grew up. Like my comfort came first.
Not so you're sports. Me out. I get it.
So oh, I'm sports. Yeah, I am. Maybe I am. I don't know.
Ooh, this is 3:35 p.m. on July the 10th. Sorry, I think that we agree that we're saying it out there, putting in the universe that we've come to a conclusion that you're sport. I mean, I came to it like 15 years ago, but that's okay.
Well, it's just like because I put my comfort first, so people just used to look at me like, oh, this girl is this girl is that. But I just want to be comfortable. That's it. Like, I'm trying not to stress myself out. Because if I stress myself out, then I have to be in the hospital and miss out on so many things. So that's one of the things that whole experience and always being sheltered sort of impacted in my life is even up till now. Like, there are some things that I would not bargain on. And my friends will be looking at me as if, oh, me, I just want to sit down and start spending ridiculous amounts of money. I'm like, trust me, like mommy would say, it's better to spend it and then spend it on hospital bill. So it's always just sort of like imprinted in my head. And it's just how I just go about my life these days. Like comfort comes first, honestly.
No, I totally agree.
So has this whole experience, did it affect you mentally? Would you say that it did, that you had maybe some sort of mental struggle with everything and just being in that place where you felt like you weren't getting as much attention and going through all those phases that you did?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it definitely did. And looking back, why would I lie that I have sickle cell? I probably needed somebody to talk to, right? I probably needed to, it was definitely mental for sure, because I still don't know why I would think that the best way to help you, like if there was some sort of injection that I could inject myself with this sickle cell, I would have done it at that point in time. So it was definitely mental. I was like, okay, so I can't take it from her. Maybe if I have it with her, I can help her. Right? It was definitely mental. It was also mental for me because I was struggling with emotions where I was upset with the whole situation. I was really, really upset at you. I'm just like, oh my God, the golden child. I was upset with my parents. Like, why on earth did you make this mistake? Like, how did we get here? Like, can we just step back and do the 5 whys and figure out how we got here? So I was upset with everybody. I was upset with the whole situation. I was just like, why me? I didn't even have a say. I just got dropped from heaven into this family and I have to pay for some people's actions. So it was definitely mental. I think I was going through something mental and it would just have been nice to have someone to talk to, navigate those emotions that I was feeling. Because right now I understand those emotions were okay. It's just there was nobody to say, what you're feeling is okay. Right. And then I was sad because I'm like, oh my God, now I'm blaming everybody, The people that I love, I'm upset with them. The people that I love, I'm blaming them for what's happening. Yeah, it would have helped to definitely get like mental help or talk to someone. But as you know, in Nigeria, the mental health issue is still not something they talk about. So, it wouldn't have been something I realized I needed at that time, if I'm being honest. But looking back now, it's definitely something mental was going on. Absolutely. Like some days I would wish that I was at the hospital as against being in school. Some days I was just going through that motion of going to school. Like I don't even know what they taught in school. I'm just like, okay, is it time to go home? I got to go see my sister. I remember sometimes the driver would be late because they had to drop mom at the hospital. And I kept asking myself, why am I in school? Like, why am I here? I'm not even here physically. But we couldn't say that out loud, right?
So you had to go to school.
You had to brave up and be the doctors and engineers. You got to go to school.
Yeah.
But emotionally, I wasn't in school. I was just somewhere else wishing I could do something.
And I totally get that, because I understand that, because me too, I went through my own mental struggle, and just processing all of this, all of sickle cell, just feeling really different. And sometimes you're not really sure who to convey those informations to. And that's the reason why one of the things that I have made sure my foundation has is providing mental facility to sickle cell warriors and their families. And I know someone was asking me like, oh, your foundation is focused on sickle cell. It's focused on the warriors and the families as well. Like, why did you decide to go down that route? And I'm like, because I understand, how much of an impact this has on the family. And most people don't get that. Most people do not understand that. And that's the thing, because most times a lot of people don't even know what sickle cell is. And then the part of them that know what sickle cell is just know, oh, it's some disease that, people get sick and this, oh, I'm not supposed to marry AS and this and that. But there's so much more that sickle cell touches that people don't talk about. The mental aspects, the stress it puts on the family, it's so much more than just all what is being talked about right now. And it's why I'm so glad that God has given me this strength to be able to pursue and move down this path of trying to bring light to the mental aspect of the disease and provide people with the help that I felt that I did not have and we did not have growing up, in terms of education, someone to talk to, someone to just be like, you know what, this is how I'm feeling today. Like my sister has this, like I feel like this today. And someone to just say, okay, your feelings are validated, but have you tried looking at things with this angle? Have you tried seeing it like this? Have you tried doing this? If you had those things, it would have been better. And I know for a fact that it would have made my life better, and it would have made me more accepting of my own self, because I had an internal self struggle that I went on for years and I couldn't tell anyone about it, because sometimes it's just like, what do you have to be sad about? What do you have to, why are you feeling this way? And sometimes when you feel that way, you kind of feel guilty. Like, I have shelter, I have food, people don't have this. So why am I feeling sad just because of this? And then you're now guilty for feeling sad. And then it's just a whole,
roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah, but if you have someone to talk to and relay this information with, it just makes it better.
100% agree. And I'm glad that you're doing this, because it's like every other thing in life. When you have a spouse that is sick, when you have a sister that is sick, be it cancer, be it, diabetes or whatever is out there, there's so much focus on the patient, the person with the disease. But what people don't realize, it's a unit. The spouse is as well as being affected as a person that is sick. Most times they don't get the support that they need. Everybody's focused on, the person with the disease, right? The person with the issue. But as like our family, I would think that our mom should probably have got someone to talk to, but we're Nigerians, we can never say that.
Yeah, you have to check problems.
You have to be brave
and tall.
Brave up, man. You can't talk about it. And when you talk about guilt, I definitely felt guilty just being angry with you, being angry with mom, being angry with everybody, because I didn't know how to process this. I felt bad for feeling bad. You get what I mean? And if there was somebody that I could talk to at that point in time, it would definitely help, explain what's going on. That would be nice. Just sit me down and explain it to me. But that never happened. It's almost like growing up, I was just thrown every situation. Go figure it out yourself. Go figure, like, you didn't really get the full picture, right? So I think that made it hard as well. But I'm glad that you're reaching out not just to the carriers of the sickle cell, but also the families, because the family is a support system, and sometimes the support needs a support, right? Because I'm sure there's a sister out there, or there's a spouse out there that is probably going through the same emotions that I went through, you know, the hatred, the love, the lying, and all those stuff. And they just need to know that they're okay. There's just no more emotions that you go through.
Yeah. Someone to just validate your feelings and help.
I remember this story. There was one time, I think that this was like in high school. I was going to go out with, I think where I had a meeting with my friends. I think mom had agreed for me to go. And then I think mom wanted to go out and she didn't want to carry or whatever the story was then. And I was told that I couldn't go. I was pissed. Oh, I remember that. And I was like, hold on a minute. And of course, I didn't say this out loud because I didn't want to be beheaded. But I'm just like, hold on a minute. First of all, you agreed I was going. Secondly, why am I staying with her? Like, is she my child? You know, why am I staying with her? Thirdly, why on earth can she not stay alone? I stay alone. Why? Like, I was not having it, but
and we're not so far in age. So if you could start
exactly. So I'm just wondering, why not, for that split second, I'm just looking at you like, how dare you? But then I feel bad for feeling that way. And they're like, okay, she's my sister. Growing up was hard. Growing up was definitely hard because I had those, but just like, what? Like, why? Okay, guys, I'm not getting the situation right now. Why is Noye's plans changing? Because this is not sitting well with me. I have an engagement to be, and I need to be there. I don't care. So I understand that those were childish emotions, and I know better right now that I have to make sacrifices. But I wish somebody had talked to me, you know, explain to me why. But I think, you know, back then in Nigeria, I'm not sure how it is now, is you do what you're told and you don't question. Right. And me having the kind of personality that I have, I always want to question things. It didn't really fit well in the puzzle. So I think I struggled more than normal. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I had those moments where I just like, oh my God, this sister of mine. And to think that we're close in age, I was just like, oh, my life is ruined. But I didn't know something else would ruin my life. Right. Like growing up to be an adult, that was a trap. Should have stayed.
I know, right? You thought you had problems then, and now
I thought I did. I thought my life was ruined because of my sister, but I didn't know that the real problem was growing up. I should have just stayed where I was.
And honestly, like growing up, right? Because I couldn't go to people's houses, and I remember my best friend at the time.
You couldn't even climb the fence. Remember when we used to climb the fence? You couldn't climb the fence. The trees.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You missed.
Yeah, we are neighbors.
Exactly. Climb the fence, climb the trees. There, like, oh God.
I could never do this.
Take me back. Oh no, don't take me back.
I couldn't even go to like friend's house. And do you remember my best friend then when I was a child?
Forced to go to your best friend's house with you. I don't want to be in your best friend's house. I want to be my best friend's house.
But I was forced to get upset. She used to get upset. Yeah, I couldn't come to her house.
You'd be like, just like, I felt like the third wheel. I'll go to your, when you were finally allowed, I'll go to your best friend's house with you. And now I'm just like, first of all, I don't like her friends. Secondly, I mean, my friends are like a third wheel.
Please, my friends. I mean, then I don't know if they were cool, but now my friends are cool.
Well, I don't really like other people's friends.
I know, but
at that stage. Why was I hanging out with your friends? I'm your elder sister. I'm hanging out with my super cool friends, at least so I thought.
Mm.
But now I'm hanging out with these kids. Why? Who did I offend?
We're just like 2 years apart, please.
Who did I offend? Why am I in this kid's house?
The funny thing for me is that she used to get so upset that I couldn't come to her house. I couldn't sleep.
Of course.
She used to get so pissed and used to cause like arguments and fights with us. That was probably such a messed up friendship, but
it sounds like a very.
It was.
How did they say it? It sounds like a situationship going on there.
You know how they say toxic relationship?
Very toxic. It sounds very
Because I will not start feeling bad.
I bless God for growth. That's all I can say.
I know, like honestly, growth is one of the things that I'm so thankful for. Like, and I used to feel so bad and just feel like, oh, she's not talking to me. Oh goodness, wow, I have grown.
Mm-hmm. Hallelujah.
So, how do you deal with like being far away? Because you know we're like two different countries, and we've just sort of like always been in different countries since I was like 17. So how do you always deal with that, like being far away and me calling you randomly some days, and I'm like, hello, how are you doing? And you're like, Vuvu, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I just woke up from sleep.
Yeah, you have a tendency of using that bedroom voice that I don't like. So I think that definitely at first it was fear, right? But I've had conversations in my head where I'm like, okay, we are not going to let her not establish her full potential, right? Because she has this. I think having that conversation in my head just let me be comfortable with you being away from me personally. So I'm like, well, she's on earth for a reason, right? And she's here to do great things. So I'm not going to be the one the devil's going to use to limit her. That was just a conversation I had with myself. So being far away from you, I mean, I wish we were all in this giant big house and all living together. I would definitely love that.
Yes.
But I am glad to see you grow. I am glad to see you be a woman by yourself, not with us in your space. I'm glad that we are around to watch you and support you, but I'm glad that you're doing it by yourself. I am very, very, very proud of that. Like every time you need to see when I say my younger sister as a doctor, you can't tell me nothing. Like, no, you know how they say in Nigerian mothers, like my kids are doctors. I'm worse than them because I am so proud. Because growing up, I was just like, oh, if I put myself back in, my growing up age, I don't think I ever saw you going anywhere. You're just going to go where mama goes. And that wasn't fair. Exactly. Mama's handbag. And I'm a person that, I always wanted to be far from home. So I knew I was gone. I knew I was gone, right? I knew I was gone. Like, bye, guys. So I wanted you, if you decided to stay, it was your decision, not because you had a condition. So I'm very, very proud when I think of how far you've come, like you going to St. Kitts and all the journeys there and hurdles you've gone to. I just thank God. So for me, I've come to a place of peace where I'm like, God's got this. Doesn't matter where she is.
Yeah.
If I'm by you, you could still have crisis. It's not me. It's God. So realizing that it doesn't matter to me if you're 60 million miles away. It doesn't, because God can reach you. So I think having that conversation with myself, and of course, with all the growth and lessons learned that I have done, it's made me very at peace. I don't worry as much. I don't, because God never sleeps. And I think that he designed me to sleep. So, I'm going to nap. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It hasn't affected me in any way. I'm at peace. I'm really at peace. It's not anything different. I don't think about it anymore. I don't.
Like, it gives me peace to hear that you've come to that place, because I also sort of like worry as well to just being far away, and even me just having like calling you friendly, because I know my voice can be weird on the phone. Grandma complains all the time.
Tell me about it.
Mommy complains all the time. Even my friends complain all the time. My friend is like, your voice does this thing, like you start off very low, like something is absolutely wrong.
It feels like you're just trying to breathe. Like you can't. I don't know. It's really annoying. It makes me worried. Well, if you're cozy, then call me when you're not cozy. I don't want to be in your space. You call me when you want to have a conversation.
Well, I want to have a conversation being cozy. Like,
you don't want
I'm cozy. And I'm just like, I need to get into it now. I can't just pick up a phone and be like, hello, hi, what's up? Hey, this and that.
No, that's the way I have my conversations, right from the get-go. I pick up and say, hey, what's up? But you're just like, hello. I don't have that time to be worried. Right? So when next you want to call me, walk around your apartment or your house and ginger up.
Grandma, every time I call her, the first once I'm like, hello, she's like, Vuvu, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine.
Oh my God, your voice is annoying.
She's like, oh, are you just waking up from sleep? I'm like, no, I've been awake for hours. What's the problem?
Exactly. You make everybody worried with that. And sometimes your voice notes are just like you have sinuses or something. Like you just sound so awful.
Excuse me, my voice is amazing, please.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, so we're good.
So how would you react to, like, if you have friends And then your friend is just like, no, yeah, this is like my fiance or whatever, and we're both AS. Like, how do you react to that kind of situation of having friends that are both AS that want to get married?
On a more serious note, I think that would be my reaction, just laughing. I think that
people.
Huh?
Educate people.
I think that, well, if they've been my friend, they would know my stance right from day one. They would know. If I had a friend, I don't even know how I was their friend. So we got to imagine that I was their friend before they started dating them. So, the friendship was late.
You didn't know their genotypes? Or do you know all your friends' genotype? You can't know your friends' genotype.
If you hang around me, you would know to check your genotype. If you're dating someone, you would know. Like, that's a deal breaker for me. But anyways, back to your question. I think that I would support them, but I will make my stance known. What I mean is, I'll let them know. I'll make sure that they know what they're getting into. I would not necessarily try to stop them because I believe in leaving and let others leave. If they do eventually get married, because some people get married and decide not to have kids. So maybe that's what they decided.
Yeah.
If they do get married and decide to have kids, I don't truly believe I can be friends with them because I feel like I'm going to always want to protect that child.
Yeah, and it's just going to seem like a lot.
It's going to start all over again. So I'm going to feel like I have to protect that child. Like, I feel like eventually I'm going to piss them off because I'm going to be too involved. So I have to separate myself from that. So if I have friends that want to get married about AS, I'm going to educate them with a lot of resources that I have, let them make their choices. At the end of the day, yeah, I can't force them. I actually had a friend that was talking to me about a guy that she was dating. And we've always been on the stance of, you can't date someone that you are both AS. And she's always agreed. But this one time she called me and she said, well, there's this treatment and there's that treatment and there's this treatment. I'm like, yeah, I know all that. But have you ever looked at the emotional side of what you're willingly getting into? So there's one emotional side, right? You go through his emotion, your child. Like, I wonder if people have seen a baby sick. I don't think that they have. That's why they try to find excuses why they're doing things. And I said, well, just go to the infant ward or the sick center. Just stay there and tell me if that's what you want to go through. I get that there's bone marrow transplant, there's this, there's that. And then after you're done, if you still think you want to do it, now let's talk about the financial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because these things are not cheap. So long story short, I think eating, say that one more time.
Thank God for insurance.
Exactly. But insurance doesn't cover everything.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right?
Like,
they're still out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right? And let's just imagine, you win the lottery and you can cover it financially. The mental stress, mental illness, mental sickness, mental issues are very difficult to convey. Sometimes you're going through them and you don't even know. That's the biggest fear in everything. And I guess I don't know what happened. The relationship broke up. I don't think it was because of the genotype. I think something else happened. I just call it the act of God. But they did not go ahead. I guess the point of my story is I have come to understand that people will do whatever people want to do, right? I cannot force people to agree with my point. I can provide them resources and all the facts and all the figures and whatever, it's happening. And then they can make their own choice. But I'm not going to be the one to say, you shouldn't marry this guy, you shouldn't date him, because that's your choice. But it's my obligation as a friend to educate you, or as a human, to educate you on what you're about to step into. If you decide to go that way, that's on you. And like I said, I will still be the friend of the family. But if they decide to have kids, I think just because of my experience, it won't be nice for me to be in that environment. And I'm talking about now, right? I'm not talking about people that have already, quote, made the mistake. Right now, there's no reason why you should.
Yeah, with so much information.
Exactly. So I'm not talking about people that have already done it without. Right now, there's YouTube, there's your podcast, there's Little Voice of Mine, there's all these avenues that are there. So I don't understand why you are making a mistake. And if you look at my WhatsApp status, I don't really update it, but every time you have the webinars and stuff, I always post it and I said,
You're like, ignorance is
Oh,
not bliss. That's like your favorite thing to say.
yeah, ignorance is not bliss. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. And people are like messaging me, why you sound angry? I'm like, because I don't like stupid people. Go educate yourself, right? And it all stems from what I've been through, right? And once again, in my head, I'm just like, why? Why are you being stupid, please?
There was one status you put up. I was like, why so angry?
I am very passionate. I'm
harsh?
never angry.
Why so harsh, dear? Take it easy.
Because I still hear people in 2021 talking about, oh yeah, there's this we can do, there's that we can do. And then some people try to justify their actions with God. I'm like, hello, sir, please, ma'am, step aside. Let's just
even
leave
the
God
Bible
alone.
does say that people.
Yeah, like let's just leave God alone, because right now you're trying to force God into the situation.
Yeah, because now you have knowledge, so you should know better.
Exactly. And what makes you think that God is going to put you in a situation where you bring a child to suffer? His plans for us are of good. So I don't understand which Bible you're reading that thinks that, So when people start to get into that realm of God would do this, there's no miracle God cannot do. And I'm just like, sorry, honey.
Yeah, we know that. We know there's no miracle.
Yeah, I know. And then I'm like, are you not just tired of adding to your prayer list? Like, you're not tired? You just want to put some more? And for me, it's just being very selfish as a human being.
Yeah, it's very selfish for
Extremely selfish.
You do this, right? And then have it at the back of your mind that, oh yeah, there's so many things that can be done. Medicine is advancing. It's like bringing someone into this world and then having, we can always do bone marrow transplant. First of all, bone marrow transplant does not correct the gene. It just, sort of like affects the bone marrow and then makes your bone marrow to produce like normal red blood cells.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't affect it on a genetic level. So that child still carries that SS gene. So if that person goes on, they're still able to transmit that gene, and then still this disease that could be so easily avoided is continuing on
generation to generation, right?
And it's just, so why would you put a child through bone marrow transplant? Like, that's
who even told them the transplant is going to be successful? Why are you putting the child through that pain? Why are you putting yourself through that emotional trauma? Why are you stupid?
Even right now, and I think we've had this conversation before, bone marrow transplant is not something that I would opt in for.
I think you said that, and I was ready to be the donor. I don't even know if I'm just like, take it. Like, because we had that conversation, and then you said, I would never do blood. And I felt bad. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I know, because it was you, Keke, and I think Andy was there as well, and we're just having a conversation. I was like, I can't do this because of the fact that I don't know if you were still at home at that time, but there was this whole guy that came, and then there was like, how Nigeria is now. Oh, somebody has found cure to sickle cell. Possibly,
has a cure.
It's possible that someone has found the cure. Yeah, fine. I'm not disputing that fact. But then they were like, it's the treatment I had to do. Was it for because I blocked that whole experience of my childhood because it was too traumatic for me. And it was like, I had to do it for 2 weeks, or was it 3 weeks now, or 1 month? I'm not even sure. And then I had to take a year apart and do it again. So it was 2 treatments with a year apart. So then it was like they had to take razor. I actually even still have those marks on my.
I remember that, yeah.
They had to take razor, and they would cut me in my hands, in my tummy, my sides, and then my legs, and they would have this herbal mixture that they would put in those. It was painful. Not just the razor cuts. The razor cuts were razor cuts is fine. But just the emotional stress of that experience was painful, and it haunted me. And they will make it was as if they tried to make this food horrible. And I was supposed to eat that food with the ugliest and most tasteless plantain you could ever find. Plantain is sweet, please. Why are you going to look for the greenness of them all? And then
Nigeria.
You're roasting it with this even now, speaking about it, the taste of the vegetable mixture is coming to my I'm actually.
And now that you're talking about it, I think I'm becoming a little bit emotional because I remember that day. I remember you just walking through the door, looking very sad, and you had on your body. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? 2 things came to my mind then. The degree, of course, not then, but right now, being an adult, just the degree of how much mom wanted the best. How I feel if she knew, she would have made better decision. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
how just struggling to find a cure for her kids. She would do literally anything
She'll
on
do
earth.
anything. Like she'll try
So
anything.
it boils down to, exposure, the lack of knowledge. And then somebody comes to play with your intelligence that, oh, I have a cure. And who doesn't want a cure?
Yeah. And
Right. So
okay.
it was just like two-sided coin. Is I was feeling so bad for mom. I was feeling so bad for you, looking like you just got run by a truck. I don't like to remember that day,
I don't
honestly.
even remember it. Like I can't even tell you how that whole event played because I
And I think
blocked
you
it.
still have the scar.
I have scars. I have the scar on my tummy. I think I still have a bit on my hand, the razor mark, because every day, like every other day, I had to get like scratched with razor and all of those things. But then my crisis did reduce afterwards. I don't know if there's a connection.
You think it was like psychological? Because sometimes
I don't think it was psychological because I hated our experience. I wasn't expecting anything from it. I did not even have high hopes. I was just like, take me out of this misery. Why am I here? Why am I having to do this? I did not choose this. This was not my decision. I literally did. Nobody asked me yes or no. And nobody even asked me whether I wanted that treatment. Nobody asked me. I didn't say.
You're in Nigeria. You don't get to ask questions.
Oh yeah, go for your treatment, this and that. And then I'm not being like, it was so miserable for me. And that's why I'm saying no to bone marrow transplant. Maybe it's me rioting from my childhood. I don't know.
Probably.
That's for my therapist to figure out why my answer.
I feel like you now know that you have a voice. Now you're taking it to the
so I won't use it. And my answer is now no. Like nobody can tell me to do it. Nobody can force me to do it. So I'm saying no. So maybe that's just the reason I'm saying.
I think so because as a child, you didn't really get an opinion on anything. Like you having the sickle cell, you being Nigerian, you being a woman, everything was stacked up against you. Like you didn't have a choice. So I think that it's just you just saying, you know what, I have a voice right now and I'm telling you no.
No, I'm actually saying no. And people ask me and I'm like, no. Like, and they don't understand the reason why I'm saying no. But I'm like, just leave it as that. Like it's no. Because I don't want to, and I would not give sickle cell a period of my life to just go through this whole bone marrow transplant.
It's taking a lot.
I just want to continue to live my life and just like I'm doing well. And thankfully, I celebrated 1 year crisis free. Oh my goodness. Like,
thank you, Jesus.
Like I did not even have those minor home remedy crises. I was completely
that is amazing.
Crisis free. And I am just happy about
Congrats. Hopefully, we pray that is forever, right?
Recovery and full deliverance and all of that.
One thing I've always wondered, and I'm sorry because I know you're the host, it's like those people that just come and say, oh, I was SS, now I'm AA. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I know Keke was saying a story of her friend or something like that it happened to. I don't know, miracles happen every day and, God does wonderful things and things that the human mind cannot comprehend. But I don't even know how that will feel. It must feel so amazing for them to actually just like, this is all done. Like, I don't have that pain. I don't have this anymore. So it must feel amazing for them. Like, but I feel as though like, or not, I think I know, not really feel. I know that God does things for his name and to his glory and all of that. And then because he performs a miracle in someone, like in case of this now sickle cell, because he changes someone's genotype to AA from SS, it doesn't mean that he would do yours. And that's not so much of a bad thing. It's like, just like what Jeremiah says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. So there's a purpose. Do you understand? There's a purpose to why he has not performed that miracle in you. And there's a purpose to why he has performed it in someone else. Exactly. So that's just the beauty of how God works. And it's so beyond the human understanding because humanly we'll think about it that, so if he can do this, can change water to wine, why can he not change my genotype now? It's not just from A to S. Do you get? And if he has done it from S to A, I knew I was making a mistake. And if he has
want to go from S to A.
S to A. And if he has done it for someone else, why can he not do it for me? And then you now start thinking, is that person lying? Maybe the lab did something wrong. Maybe they didn't test it well. But all of this is just like, you will not understand his thinking. Like our mind as humans cannot comprehend the way God works. And that's just it. So I have gone through that process of just, accepting that this is what he has done in my life and it's for a purpose. And I just always pray, like, God, give me the strength to do what you want me to do with what you have given me. And that's just the phase that I am now. And it's an amazing phase.
We thank God. Yeah, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to ask you a question now. How do you react now? I bring my fiancé, the one you guys have been asking to see pictures since of.
December, right? I have been starving myself. I need to.
Nobody said December. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm speaking. The Bible says there's power in my tongue.
Oh, speaking. Yes.
I'm speaking it into the atmosphere.
Yes, Lord. So now I bring him and I'm like, yeah, this is him. And I'm like, yeah, but he's AS, but we've talked about it and we're still going to go ahead with the marriage. Like, what will your reaction be?
Honestly, if I'm being honest, I would cut you off.
Are you serious?
I don't do stupid. I can't. You know me, Vuvu. If I don't like somebody, I'm not that person that will pretend to like. I'm just like, no, you're taking space. Can't have you. I don't like you. I would cut you off and it would hurt me because that's what I have to do for my mental state, right? We're close in age. We've been through this together. Then you turn around and you're speaking some love gibberish after mom has told us that our love needs to have eyes when it comes to genotype. I'm sorry, I don't do stupid. I may come for the wedding because mom may do her Christian thing. Whatever.
Do you think mom is going to come for that wedding?
Oh, mommy loves us. It's kind of like a mother-daughter thing. You can't break it. Even if your child is being stupid, I kind of figure out that, I think she would. And just have like stiff face. I think that I may struggle to come for the wedding, but after the wedding, girl, you're on your own. Because I'm not going to put myself, because now you're the one making a selfish decision for your sisters, for your unborn kids. And of course, I'm sure you'll be like, oh, I love him. I'm not going to have kids. Well, I'm not going to have you in my space because I'm not going to be worrying about what could happen. Because you're SS and you're marrying an AS.
What KK will do? KK will probably just drink water and...
I think that KK is more of, she's like opposite of me. It's like ice and fire kind of thing. I think that KK would be like, oh, you shouldn't do this. And she'd probably get upset, but she's going to be there for you. I feel like she's going to be. Whereas me, you're off. It's almost like 3 strikes, you're out. I'm not.
2 strikes. How many strikes do I have?
I don't know. Like that one just promotes you to 5. So you are, I think that's why we have such a great bond as a sister is we balance each other out, right? So I think that KK will be able to come back to it and say, oh, it's her life. Whereas I'm like, no, can't be in my space. Can't be in you are stressing me out. You need to leave. That would be me. I am telling you now.
I could never even do that. Like, I could never.
For your own good.
Like, if I say that, just know that someone has like... just take me to church or take me to...
I think Mama will be the one. Mama will light the whole candle. Anywhere, the red, pink, purple, green, as long as it's an altar of God in a church, Mama gonna light it.
And then she'll carry my picture to the altar.
Your picture, they'll be candle wax
touch your
everywhere. Like you will just be sleeping at night. Heat will just be doing you. It will just be doing you. You'll be sweating. Even the man will be sweating because somebody is burning your picture beside candle. Let me just say that you cannot fit
I can't do it. I can't even do it.
I feel like my brain can't process that question because it cannot happen. But
when I was going to ask this question, I was like, I don't even know how you're going to react to this. I'm just excited to know what your response is going to be.
You are off.
No, I can't do it. Like it goes against everything I stand for. And
oh my goodness.
I would just be a hypocrite if I do something.
I'm just going to update all my next of kin. Remove your name.
Because right now, of kin.
We are just not on the same page anymore.
I love that.
You are going to be wiped out from my memory. Let me just let you know. When I'm counting my sisters, I'm not counting you. When I count my blessing, I count it twice. You are not counted. You are off. People be like, oh, I thought you had a sister named Vuvu. I'm like, what is that? Is that the name of the street? The bread? Chocolate?
Is that French? Are you speaking in French right now?
Exactly. Like, I would delete you. I'm sorry, because I'm going to be emotionally traumatized, right? Like, what if both of you, what if you're sick and the child is sick? Or let's just assume I'm going too far. You just want to marry the person. right? Like you just want to marry and you give us the story that, oh, I'm not going to have kids. For the fact that you could process that in your head, I feel like maybe all this while we've been talking to a stone or
Yeah,
all
that's
this
why
while.
I said, just take me to church or take me to the hospital. I need to get an MRI, CT scan, something.
No, I know what we need to do. We're going to tie you up and ship you back to Nigeria. That's what we need to do. We need mosquito. We need mosquito to bite you. No, we need mosquito to bite you to remind you of our crises. Maybe you need to reset the brain. Mosquito gonna bite you. That's what we need to do. Just ship you back. First class. Ship you back to Lagos.
Back to Nigeria. Back.
Then you land in Lagos and then I ship you back to Warri.
That's dry heat in.
When they're shipping you to Warri, they don't need to use plane. Greener line. And go for it. Ship you. In fact, they should ship you to Benin. Then from Benin, you now enter another bus. Because I'm telling you, you are too.
That Benin red sand.
Exactly. You're too comfortable right now. You have forgotten where you are from. We have to remind you. We have to jog your memory.
It has to be just because, you've been so comfortable. Actually just.
Yeah. Then those Warri mosquito, those ones that used to sing before they bite you.
Oh, that remind me of.
When they bite you, then you are not feeling one kind. I think that your eye will clear.
Battery setting.
You'll be seen properly. You'll be the one that's going to call us and say it was a joke. It was a prank.
I should probably put that prank on you guys and video it and see how that will go on.
My dear, if you have another family, I think you should. But if this is the only family, if this is the only one you have, I will advise that you don't prank yourself, because at the end of the day, you are going to be pranking. The only person that will probably stand by you will be grandma.
No, grandma will stand. Grandma doesn't take rubbish. Grandma will not stand for that.
Now that I'm thinking, grandma can cut you off because her anger sometimes.
Grandma will not stand for that.
Your best bet might be mama, because she'll still try to pray for you, be doing the whole. Yeah, it might just be mama that,
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe KK.
I think mama would, because she's still trying to pray for you and everything. Yeah. KK would eventually, but myself and grandma, we move.
No, grandma won't stand for it. She'll just be like, Ivy, huh?
We move.
Then she'll now start speaking Urobo and be like, Bibiano, this and that.
No, I don't do stupid, please.
So what would you say to encourage people that are listening? Because there are so many people that have families that are in this situation. And I would like to consider ourselves fortunate, because I consider myself fortunate, because people have it more difficult than what I had it and we had it. And so what would you just say to them to encourage them that someone is just looking for that? When you're just saying that prayer, like, God, show me a sign, like someone just looking for that, like, what would you say to
anyone out there, especially the younger kids with this condition? I would say, and I think beat it is the wrong word, but I would say you can beat it. I would say you can use it and still be a full-blown person. It should not limit you. I would say that it gets better with right treatment. I would say that everyone around you is probably annoying you because you're in so much pain and they're trying to treat you like an egg and all this stuff, but they're doing it for the right reasons. And now to the community, I would say we need to pay attention to the support system of that person that is sick, because there's mental help that they need as well as physical help. To the parents that have made this mistake, and mistake has happened, please get educated, educate your kids, educate your family, and make better choices. To our lovebirds that are upcoming, that, they're in love, but they're ASAS or SSAS, I would say listen to the podcast series of Little Voice of Mine. Attend the webinar, don't be stupid. And then, leave God out of your stupidity, please, because it offends me. Just leave him alone, right? And if you still want to make the decision of going ahead, I don't know. Like, I have no words for you. It's like, why do you want to bring somebody to suffer? That's my own question. And, I have to give, that exception. I don't want to put everybody in the same box, that people who decide to do this and don't want to have kids, absolutely, that's fine by me. My problem is bringing somebody into this world to suffer. So if you decide not to have kids, please stick by it, because bringing a child that doesn't have a say into this world to suffer, that's when I have a problem. So I guess my summary is we all need to get educated to make better decisions in life, right? Like, the key word is You need to know what you're going into so you can make better decisions. But to everyone out there, like my sisters, I wish you guys all the best. And I hope that you have support system. If not, little voice of mine is here. Let's just keep spreading the word. Let's make awareness because some of my friends don't even know that they should be checking their genotype. So let's spread the word. Let's make sure that we're using our voices right and support each other. Let's just leave and let others leave, right? At the end of the day.
Oh, I really, really did enjoy this podcast episode.
I'm a fun person to hang around with. You know that.
I have nothing to say to that, by the way, but okay. So we've come to the end of this episode, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to do this. And I thought I would be bawling my eyes out, but somehow, I think I was very close to crying, but I didn't end up crying. So yeah, but I think the stories they were emotional and as well still fun to talk about. And it was very interesting for me to hear your own part of how you perceived just growing up and the things that were happening around with just me being sick and you having to be in that situation. So it was very educating for me because there's so many things that, I didn't know that you said and I'm more aware of now, and just it makes me more connected to you as well. So I'm really, really thankful that you agreed to do, not that you actually had any choice, but yeah, I'm thankful.
My agent will be reaching out.
Will be polite. I'm thankful that you agreed to do this. Okay, so we've come to the end of Beyond Genetics. So bye.
Thank you so much. My agent's gonna call your agent.
Yeah. Bye.
All right.